morning, Lagos. This is the Wednesday edition of Overt Radio. Today is July 22nd, 2026. You are listening to Overt Radio. We are broadcasting to you live from the city of Lagos. Lagos is a center of excellence, the city that never sleeps. This is the Wednesday edition of Overt Radio Breakfast Show, and I will be this particular segment, which is the reviewing some of the stories making headlines in Nigeria. So I will be reviewing some of the stories for the next 25 minutes or thereabout, reviewing some of the stories making headlines, in Nigeria on our various news daily. We have the Vanguard here and the Sun newspaper, where I will be analyzing some of the headlines, some of the stories, published here today. This morning, you can join us on our YouTube channel, Overt Radio Live. We are currently streaming on YouTube, Overt Radio Live. We are also on TikTok, overt.radio.lagos. You can watch our past programs on TikTok, on Instagram, and as well as on X. On TikTok, overt.radio.lagos, on X, Overt Radio Live, and also on Instagram, IG, Overt News. This breakfast show is being sponsored by Lifeback Pharmacy and Stores Limited, and marketers of Ogama QS soft gel and anti-malaria tablet. Lifeback Pharmacy and Stores Limited is bringing this breakfast show between now and the hours of 10 o'clock. So we appreciate our sponsors this this morning here on Overt Radio. My name is Ken. Sorry for not introducing myself earlier. Well, let's get things started this morning. It is Wednesday. All right. Yes, on the first headline on the front page of the Vanguard, reps to ONSA explain why you ignored alerts on PFIPC. Reps on ONSA explain why you ignored alert on PFIPC. The House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating the alleged establishment of the Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, PFIPC, without legal backing, has summoned the National Security Advisor, NSA, and Minister of Foreign Affairs to explain how the council allegedly operated despite concerns over its legitimacy. The NSA was particularly summoned to explain why his office did not stop the promoter of PFIPC, Prince Adeniyi Matthew Adeyemi, from progressing with the agency after the Foreign Affairs Ministry exposed it as an illegal entity. The committee also issued a final ultimatum to some concerned ministries, departments, and agencies, which is the MDAs, to appear before it tomorrow. And the summon followed the submission of a memorandum by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Dunoma Umar Ahmed, which stated that the ministry had no official dealings with the council and had instead sought clarification from the Office of the National Security Advisor after detecting irregularities in its correspondence. Appearing before the panel yesterday, which was on Tuesday, with a letter dated July 21, 2026, Ahmed disclosed that Prince Adeyemi, who presented himself as the Director General of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, PEAC, PFIPC, approached the ministry 3 times seeking its collaboration and endorsement to organize a World Investment Summit in Nigeria. This is very funny, The ministry said the requests were received on June 26, 2025, August 5, 2025, and June 5, 2026, but were not acted upon. Guided by extant rules and regulations, as well as the necessity of carrying out due diligence before obliging any request, the ministry did not take any action on the request. Yes, so I can read all the stories here, but at least you have a glimpse of what the story he's talking about. According to the report by the Vanguard, the Senate committee, the reps, House of Representatives carrying out that probe, that investigation, has queried Nuhu Ribadu, who is the National Security Advisor, why his office, did not, respond to the alert raised by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs over the operation, of PFIPC. So we hope to see, response from Nuhu Ribadu, or a representative of the National Security Advisor, within the coming days, either today, tomorrow, or next, because this is a very, very germane, a very, very important case that must not be swept under the carpet. Must not be swept under the carpet. Somebody has the tenacity, the effrontery to wake up one morning and forge the establishment of an agency without key relevant ministries and departments being aware. So we hope that the House of Reps, the investigation, will come to a reasonable conclusion, and perpetrators must, face the wrath of the law. Like I said yesterday, for this agency, which is the PFIPC, to come to an existence, despite the fact that the federal government, that is the presidency, has claimed that it was a non-existent agency. But how did the agency? How is it that the fund was approved? The purported Director General of the agency, Prince Adeyemi, approached the budget office following his revelation, that I dealt with yesterday. Following the revelation that he approached the budget office, for the funds should be approved in the 2025 budget, but officials from the budget office say that he came late, that the appropriation or the money that should be the budget for the PFIPC, for the operation of the agency, would be included in the 2026 budget. So these are the things, like I said yesterday, for this man to be bold, to approach key agencies in the country, that means there must be somebody within the presidency that is giving him the boldness to do such things. Like the names that he mentioned, I think it was yesterday, Dolapo Danimola, also, if I can remember vividly. Dolapo Danimola, paid allegedly, transferred the sum of 400 million, to whoever, that was mentioned. So the name of the President Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, had been mentioned at several times, but Mr. Adeyemi did say that he had never met with Gbajabiamila directly, physically. He had never met with Gbajabiamila, that the person that was running things for the approval of the agency was that Dolapo Danimola, if I'm correct with that name. So we hope that the House of Representatives, that is a committee, investigate this matter to a reasonable conclusion, because we don't want a situation whereby at the end of the day, when officials of this agency that have been mentioned, are dodging not to come out, they must be summoned to appear before the panel and give their own side of the story. Enough of this impunity in this administration, in this country. Enough of this impunity in this country. We must see the light of the day. This case must see the light of the day, and also it also depends on the transparency of the panel. It depends on the transparency of the reps, of the rep panel, investigating, probing, this scandal. All right, that is how far I can go on that particular story. Let's move to the next story, still on the Vanguard newspaper. Christian ticket will win Nigeria's presidency one day, says Governor Sule Abdullahi. Governor Abdullahi of Nasarawa State has expressed confidence that Nigeria will eventually elect a president and vice president on a Christian ticket, insisting that the country's constitution does not require religious balancing in any political appointment or electoral tickets. Sule stated this on Tuesday during an appearance on Channels Television's Politics Today, while responding to Nigeria Democratic Congress NDC Vice Presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso over issues of political representation. The governor dismissed the criticism as a normal feature of opposition politics. He said, and I quote, "I think it is normal for Senator Kwankwaso, whom I respect a lot, to say that because he's opposition, he cannot say anything good. It is expected of him to say that." He also said again, "There are no places where it talks about religion. Section 14 didn't talk about religion. Section 15 did not talk about religion." The governor also added, "You can see both elections have been clear, that Muslim ticket has won. I pray that one day Nigeria will have a Christian ticket and it will win. That's what I pray to see," Sule said. Well, Mr. Governor, His Excellency, Your Excellency, the governor of Nasarawa State, yes, you have said what is expected of every politician to say, but that should not be what should be bothering us in the country now. That should not be what should be the bone of contention. Either a Muslim ticket, or a Christian ticket, or Christian Muslim ticket, or Muslim Christian ticket in the presidency. It leads Nigeria to nowhere. The most important thing is the competency of those people who are Muslim ticketers, or those people who are Christian ticketers, or Christian Muslim, or Muslim Christian presidential candidate and vice presidential candidate. Nigeria's development does not rest whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a traditionalist. What will determine the growth of the country is the competence of people in power, and that is what I'll be treating this morning during the political update by 9:15. In case you just joined us, you are listening to Overt Radio. My name is Ken. This is the breakfast show here, the Wednesday edition of breakfast show here on Overt Radio. We are broadcasting to you live from the city of Lagos. I'm so delighted that you can join us this morning. Either you are watching us live on our YouTube channel, or you are listening to us on our Zeno platform, zeno.fm/radio. /Overt Radio. And a reminder that this breakfast show is being sponsored by Life Back Pharmacy and Stores Limited, marketers of Ogamal QS soft gel is an anti-malaria drug here. All right, thank you very much for to our sponsors. Now let's move to the next headline. It is 15 minutes gone past the hour of 8 o'clock. It is 8:15 here in Lagos, Nigeria. All right, the next headline, this is coming from the Sun newspaper. CBN confirms opening PFIPC accounts on Accountants General's directive. Another confusion. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has confirmed that it opened 2 domiciliary accounts linked to the controversial Presidential Foreign Investment Promotion Council, PFIPC, following a directive from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, OAGF, but insisted that the accounts were never funded or operated. The disclosure was made on Monday by the Director of Banking Services at the CBN, Abdullahi Hamisu, while appearing before the House of Representatives and ad hoc committee investigating the legal basis, operations and budgetary allocations of the PFIPC, including the 1.3 billion naira appropriated to the council in the 2026 Appropriation Act. Let me see if there's any quote. Yeah, according to the representatives, we don't ask for an enabling act. We received a mandate from the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to open the account for the council. To open the account for the council, he told lawmakers. Like I said earlier, while during the first headline that I read, that there must be somebody within the presidency or within the ministries in the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is aiding, that has given this man the boldness to operate freely without being detected. Now, how can the CBN, this is the Central Bank of Nigeria, okay, the apex bank of the country, the biggest financial institution in Nigeria, a directive was, a letter was sent to the CBN to open an account for the agency, which is the PFIPC. And it is shameful that that those within the CBN did not take due diligence to investigate. To say, Accountant General, please, how did this PFIPC, how did it come about? You do your own due diligence. You investigate, despite the fact that a directive is coming from this same agency that the CBN operates on. It is your due diligence to, go to do your own investigation. Okay, a letter has been brought to the CBN from the Accountant General of the Federation requesting that an account be opened for this particular agency. Now, it is the responsibility of the CBN that have been clamoring for financial security, the CBN that have been clamoring for anti-graft, whatever. It is the responsibility of the CBN to carry out an investigation. It is, things like this happen when we have people that are incompetent in their position. When we employ people, that when appointment is based by political affiliation, not by experience, not by competence. We are in this mess in this country. The PFIPC scandal is still trending in this country because of the lack of competence, because of incompetent people in governance, because of the people that were appointed, as ministers, as director general, as whatever ministries and department of agencies, whoever is in charge of any agencies. This is the time that we begin to look into political appointment in the country. This is the time we need to start taking seriously appointment of political office, appointment of persons into that are manning various ministries and departments of agencies. So I think this is a wake-up call. This is a lesson, and I want, like I said earlier, that the committee that is probing this scandal, this issue, this mess that some persons within the government has brought us into, that all the people that were mentioned, all the people that were involved in this, that gave the light, for the existence, despite the fact that the government has claimed that this agency, the PFIPC, is not in existence. All those that were fingered, all those that were mentioned, and I hope that the panel is taking note of the names. When this investigation is concluded and recommendations are given by the reps, by the investigative panel, may I urge or call on the panel to make sure that whoever is mentioned, whoever is fingered during the course of this investigation, that gave light to the existence, or whether they call it, whether the federal government said it was non-existent, but the PFIPC did exist. The PFIPC did exist. That was why it had the effrontery to approach the budget office. That was why it had the effrontery to approach the office of the Accountant General. That was why an account was a domiciliary account, and another account was open, domiciled in the CBN. So this cook and boom story that the PFIPC never existed, we need to get to the root of this matter. Truth must prevail in this country. So many investigations have been swept under the carpet due because of one or two people that are involved in that investigation has an affiliation, has a connection with the powers above. So I urge the panel, the House of Reps, investigating this matter to ensure that everyone that were mentioned, names that were mentioned during the course of this investigation, those names, if they are found guilty, they should be punished. They should be made to face the wrath of the law. Okay, so that when this is done, it serves as a deterrent for people who will, do such things in the future. All right, that is that for that. Now, the last and the final story this morning on the news headlines making reviews of the national newspaper. On the Sun, NIHSA raises flood alarm in 17 states, orders immediate evacuation. The Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, NIHSA, has placed 17 states on medium flood alerts, warning of possible localized flooding between July 21 and July 27. and urging residents in vulnerable communities to relocate immediately. In the National Flood Advisory Alert number NFA 2026 NFA/2026/200 issued yesterday, the agency said rising water levels at critical river monitoring stations had exceeded warning thresholds, increasing the likelihood of flooding along major river channels and floodplains. Okay, let me see for the quote. Okay, who is the person that gave the warning? The Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NISA, Umar Ibrahim Mohammed, said our hydrological monitoring network indicates that river stages at critical monitoring stations have exceeded watch and warning thresholds, with 16 gauging stations showing elevated stages. Showing elevated stages. Communities along the primary channels face imminent localized flooding. We strongly advise state governments, local authorities, and residents on floodplains to act immediately. All right, so yes, they've done their part. It is not left for the various state governors in the state that was the names of those states: Bauchi, Edo, Imo, Kaduna, Plateau, and Benue, among the affected states, alongside 11 others. Okay, so yes, the Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency has given a warning. So it is not left for this various state governors in this 17 states that flood alerts have been issued, for them to take drastic measures, for them to swing into action, because we don't want to lose another innocent Nigerian due to flood disaster. Yes, flood is a natural disaster. It is not man-made, but it can be curtailed. Lives can be saved. Nigeria is not the only country where there have been flood disasters. There have been flood disasters. There are other countries, that have gone through this. So we urge the various state governors to take heed, to respond to this warning, to this alert. Take people from the lowlands to the highlands. Evacuate community dwellers, evacuate locals. From the lowlands to the highlands, so that things can be properly done. And the warning is coming. Today is 21, though today is 22. Why is the warning coming 2 days, few hours before the incident, or before? Why is it coming now, between July 21 and 27? So it can happen between these 2 days, between the next 7 days. A day has gone already, so we wait for the next 6 days. So we hope that the governors will heed to this alert given by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency. All right, thank you very much for having me here. Thank you. I want to thank our sponsors: Liveback Pharmacy and Stores Limited, marketers of Ogama QS softgel and anti-malaria drug. Thank you for being a faithful partner and sponsor with Overt Radio. We appreciate you. All right, Lagos, it is 26 minutes gone past the hour of 8 o'clock, 8:30.